Hi there, good evening everybody. I want to welcome you all here to the Prog Monster. My name is Murph. I am the host of this show, a show dedicated to progressive rock and other forms of rock music. I always never quite get that right, eh? Anyways, we're here for an episode of What's New. What's New is a show we do every Saturday night in which I choose an album that was released in 2025, a rock album of course, and I kind of give you a review of it. It's not really much more complex than that. So the album I've chosen tonight is a Vancouver-based rock band called Syrinx. Obviously, that's got a Rush intonation in it. The album is called Time Out of Place. So this was released on September the 9th, 2025 at the MDC Studios in Toronto. It's about 44 minutes or so in length. It's on the Ocala record label and produced by Brock McFarlane. The lineup includes Graham McGee on guitars, Moog Taurus synthesizers, Mini Moog, Oberheim OBX, and backing vocals. JP Abboud on vocals, Seth Lyon on drums and percussion, Bobby Schock on bass, Moog Taurus pedals, Mini Moog and Oberheim Matrix synthesizers, of course, and Lady Chanel on vocals as well, additional vocals, I guess. So they have a kind of a unique vocal setup. So you have a guy who kind of has the male voice and she has the female voice. When they combine the two together, they all actually sound a little bit like Geddy Lee. It's kind of a little bit unnerving. So, album released September the 9th, of course, not too long ago, about a month and a half. This was one of the albums I had on my Prog roundup for last month, so I decided I wanted to do this. I hadn't had a chance to really explore the album until today. So it looks like there are a total of 9 tracks on this album in total. Very Rush-like, of course. A lot of a Rush feel here. More of the heavy kind of 2112 version of Rush. There are some fair amount of keyboards on the album as well. Lots of heavy guitars, and the rhythm section, bass and drums are both very good and prominent as well. The whole band is fairly prominent. It's a little bit uncanny how much of a Rush sound they do have at points. There's also a little bit of an Iron Maiden feel to at least one song, and the same with Judas Priest. A little bit of a feel for them as well. So we're going to break the songs down as we normally do. So the opening track is called Mitosis. Very Rush-like sound right from the opening track. It got a nice catchy riff, strong, heavy, punchy type part to it. I would very strongly Rush sounding, of course. I like this track. It's quite good instrumental that opens up the album. Next up is 1875. Another heavy riff, very Rush-like again. Vocals are very similar sounding to Geddy Lee here. Yeah, there's that combination. At first I thought it was one person singing, but you can clearly hear the distinction between the two, the male and the female voice, but when they're combined together, they have a very unique kind of Geddy Lee-like sound to their voice. It's some nice scratchy, hollow guitar sounds throughout this track as well. Decent track. The next up is Masters. Catchy riff, heavy, strong frontal bass part to it. Again, another very Rush-like track here. The solo was very good, solid sounding. And the vocals are a little bit more on the high end, I think, here than on the previous track. Next song up is called Solace Within, or Solace Within, whatever you want to pronounce it. It's a little bit more of a quieter opening, very frontal bass part here, and some keyboards accompanying it. Then the keys become a bit more dominant, and the bass becomes a little bit heavier as the song goes along. I would say the drums are decent. I wouldn't say they rival Rush's at all, but they're good. They are within the sound of Rush, but not necessarily as complex as you might get with the original Rush stuff. Yeah, there's definitely that early Geddy Lee sound going on here as well. The next track is The Knowing. This is a heavy riffing metal-like song, just a beefy song. Vocals are heavy, high, and screeching. It's a menacing track for sure. Lots of heavy riffing throughout this track, and it's a very beefy track, and it ends with this kind of like it's going out of a windstorm, out of a tunnel, into a spacey feel to it. And then that takes right off, something like what you would have got with Overture into the Temple of Syrinx. There's that same kind of transition where that you get a little bit of that wind sound and it just takes right off, right? The next song is called Awakening Dream. They're obviously trying to project a very 2112 feeling to this album. Like each of the tracks giving that 2112 feeling to the album, but with some originality to it too. And I think actually the back side of the album, which I'm going to talk here, is they break away from that sound just a little bit and take on some different sounds. Starts with a nice kind of wind sound that comes from the end of the past track, and morphs into more of a spacey sound here. It becomes very almost very kind of Floydish, spacey sound. It doesn't sound like Floyd at all, but it has that kind of element to it. The vocals are deep and heavy. The female voice is much higher here, and it's kind of overlaid. They're not as combined here as they are on some of the previous tracks. They're more separate. It's a more layered track, I think, with some nice keyboards and guitar riffs going on throughout this particular track. It switches up to a more cleaner sound as it goes along. I mean, you can distinctly separate the different instruments here. The key synthesizers are good. Some heavy bass and drums throughout the track. But I would say it's a keyboard dominated track, which is again very a little bit unusual for a Rush song. Not that Rush doesn't use the keyboards in that, but this is more dominant than that. The vocals are slower and much deeper on this track as well. This was one of my favorite tracks. The next song, Shades of Your Purpose. This is probably my favorite track on the album. Very similar kind of guitar sound to 2112. That specific type of guitar that Alex would be using on 2112. Got a real feel for it here as well. The solo was great. I think it's excellent. I don't think it's in the same league as Alex, but it has that 2112 feel to it. This is a fast-paced, almost Iron Maiden-like feel to the guitars at times. This is where I start to feel that Iron Maiden kind of marriage with Rush here. The vocals are a bit on the heavier side here. This is a very prog metal-like track. Obviously, you've got Rush and an Iron Maiden mix here. You're going to get that proggy feel. The solo takes over and becomes kind of the center stage for the whole song. Very good song, Shades of Your Purpose. Now we get down to the final two tracks. Unraveler is the second last track. It's kind of heavy riffing, very metal sounding song. It's got a kind of a similar feel here to Judas Priest. I hear a lot of that feel here. The vocals are more Priest-like as well. There's more of a high-end screeching sound than you would get. How do I just separate Geddy Lee from Rob Halford? Well, Rob Halford's voice, Geddy Lee's voice is higher, high-pitched, almost vibrato at times, and very kind of effeminate in some ways, where Rob Halford's is just very screechy, high, heavy, beefy. Yeah, that's a little bit more of that going on here than the other one. And of course, the solo dominates this track as well. And the final track in left, good track, a bit slow, melodic guitarist riff going on here. The vocals are more underpinned, I guess, maybe you might want to call it. It's a solid track, nothing terribly memorable. I think it's one of the weaker tracks on the album, but overall it's a pretty strong album. They do a good Rush feel to their music, strongly Rush feel with little bits of Judas Priest here and a little bit of Iron Maiden there as well. So I think the use of the twin vocals is kind of unique, but really gives a strong feel here. Well worth listening to. I listened to it on Bandcamp. You won't have any problem finding it. Punch in Syrinx and then the album title, and it'll come up right away. You'll go to Bandcamp and listen to it. You'll appreciate it the same way I did, I think, if you like Rush like I do. Some people don't like this kind of stuff. They don't like it when a band basically it is just a bit of a copy of a band. I understand why people might not like that, and I probably wouldn't care much for it if they were just basically covering songs from the band that they were doing and just doing an imitation of the band. But these guys have their own music and have interpreted Rush's music differently and added in some other sounds from different bands as well. So that's my take on it. So I hope you've enjoyed this episode of What's New. Please hit the like and subscribe. That's much appreciated. If you want to make any comments about Syrinx, or if you want to make any comments, sorry, just got to open my page again, I lost it, about the album, which is Time Out of Place, then you can do that in the comment section below. And I look forward to seeing you all next Saturday for another episode of What's New, where we will be doing the new live David Gilmour album. I'm looking forward to this. I bought it a couple days ago. By then I'll have done my new album new albums purchased episode, and then I can do my video for next week as well. So I hope to see you all then. Take care, have yourself a good evening, and good night here from the Prog Monster.